Hello everybody, welcome to another Walking Dead video, and today we'll be doing my review for The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 19, Variant. And this is the episode where we get to see the new types of walkers. Let's jump right into this. So, this episode is broken into two plots. We have everyone at the Commonwealth dealing with what happened in Episode 18, which is a little spoiler. A major character dies. It's just the fallout of that. We have three big plots within this one big plot, and that's Eugene dealing with what he did, Mercer having to track down Eugene, and Pamela reacting to what's happening. And it's just setting in motion the last kind of 5 episodes. Then we have the second plot, which is what this episode's named after, and it's to do with Aaron, Jerry, Lydia, and Elijah dealing with the new variant walker on the way to Oceanside. However, I do have to mention, even though this episode is called Variant, you think this would be about Aaron's group. Nah, they're a plot like C to D. They are only at the start of the episode and at the end of the episode. And that really sucks, because they're the big thing about the episode, the new walker, and they're just a side note. The entire episode is about the fallout of episode 18, and it is about everyone trying to find Eugene and Eugene trying to hide. So if you go into this episode expecting to see the new walkers and the actual fallout of, oh no, there's new walkers, you're not going to see that, because there's literally one new walker. Lydia goes, oh no! Everyone thinks it's a whisperer, and then Aaron rips it off and thinks, oh no, it's not a mask, it's an actual walker. Wow, let's say the quote that we had from the trailer. That is really what happens, and that is really annoying, I would say personally, because I thought we were going to get walkers. I was waiting the entire episode to be like, when's the Aaron stuff going to start? Nah, it was like a side plot, and it just didn't connect at all to the main plot of this episode. And the name of this episode, the kind of advertising of this episode, all just feel like clickbait to make us think one thing, but it's really an episode that's not as interesting as you thought. So going into this episode, looking at the name and the trailer, you'd be like, okay, this is an action-heavy episode. It's going to be very fun, it's going to be very entertaining. Really? Nah. That is in the episode, but it's heavily cut. I feel like the scenes were cut shorter, because there's some scenes in this episode with the Aaron plot, but they seem cut short. And you can even go in the trailer and you see there's scenes where there's an extended scene of Aaron holding the door. You don't even see that. So it seems like they really butchered the introduction to the new walkers so they can have more time at the Commonwealth, which is really what no one cares about. Everyone for this episode was caring about the new walkers, but they are barely in it. And while we're talking about the Aaron plot, which was the main focus for me, the main thing I was looking forward to in this episode, it literally, a lot of it happens off screen. They see the new walkers, Aaron kills the new walker, they have this entire horde, then it's suddenly daytime and they killed all the walkers off screen. I thought that was really annoying. So this episode was building up to this moment, it all happens off screen, which just really annoyed me. But let's talk about the actual kind of plot of this episode, the actual focus of this episode. Even though it doesn't advertise it, it's all about Eugene and what happened to Sebastian. And there's 3 kind of big plots in the Commonwealth, and I think all 3 of them are good. They're all very entertaining. I think the best one has to be the Pamela one. I liked Pamela a lot in this episode, and being serious, I really didn't care about Eugene's aftermath thing, and I definitely think this entire episode could have been shorter. We don't need 3 perspectives on Eugene killing Sebastian and all this. Like, this could have easily been Eugene goes into hiding and we focus on Pamela's reaction and Mercer trying to find Eugene. It does help with Eugene's character progression, with him stepping up to become brave. However, I feel like this could have been done differently. It progresses the story, but I feel it is stretched, to be honest. And because this episode is mostly talking, I would have to say the pacing in this episode is really bad. I personally didn't like how slow it was, and it doesn't help when you come into this episode, you're expecting to see walkers. I was just sitting there waiting for Aaron's story to come out, but it really didn't happen. Aaron's story is basically boring, and it was just very good moments in this, but between these very good moments with Pamela doing a very sadistic thing going down this villainous path, which I'm so happy they're doing with Pamela. I'm excited to see more Pamela. It was really just, oh, characters talking, characters trying to find Eugene, Eugene stepping there, which is quite funny, and then Mercer just being torn between losing his sister or Eugene. That's kind of it. I thought Princess was kind of annoying. Like, Even though Ezekiel explained Mercer's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, like Princess was like, that's not good enough, I want perfection. You're like, Jesus. This man has to choose between this person he barely knows or his sister. And she gives no sympathy to Mercer. Mercer could lose his sister or just some generic guy, her sister's boyfriend. Who do you think he's going to choose? Like, she gives zero kind of thing. I know it's pushing Mercer towards switching sides. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's good to see Mercer being this man trying to do the best of the worst situation. This episode, in my opinion, is really saved by Pamela mostly, but also Mercer's very entertaining with his story, and Eugene is good. And definitely there are some really good moments in this episode, like Pamela going down this villainous path, and we see her doing more reckless things. Like, she basically goes to Lance, and I'm definitely thinking Lance is definitely the father to Sebastian. The way their like dynamic is a little dodgy. I'm getting he's basically a hoe to Pamela. I'm getting a hoe vibe off Lance. But other than those really good moments with Pamela, with Lance and Pamela dealing with Sebastian's death and Eugene squaring up to Daryl, this episode is kind of meh. And I will have to mention, a lot of characters just feel kind of like, why are they here? They're taken away from the episode. I feel like Daryl was quite pointless. I was like, okay, Daryl, you added nothing to the plot. Easily, Rosita could have filled in for Daryl. I don't know why Daryl was in this plot. And while we're talking about bad characters, the entirety of the D plot with Aaron and stuff, I felt all those characters were just kind of there and annoying. Lydia and Elijah were max cringe with them now lovers. I thought it was just like, okay, you're ruining it for me. I'm trying to enjoy the Walkers, and you got this little like child love thing. Jerry was the only good thing about this plot. I found even Aaron was slightly annoying. Even though we got a backstory to Aaron, I was like, I don't really care, and I didn't understand why he was just kind of telling Lydia this, even though it pushed Lydia to go in full romance with Elijah. Aaron, I don't like you because you just give us a cringe scene, basically. But let's stop, like, looking at this episode badly. Let's do some positives. Some big positives is the show looks amazing, okay? This is a very pretty episode. There are some really cool shots. I like the introduction to Kingdom 2.0, where we go through the fence. It was a very well shot episode. It looks amazing, and it does have really good music. As someone who mentions music all the time, I notice it a lot. And I really like when a show has good music. Even though I don't like Fear, I always mention how Fear has good soundtracks. I like the death music, even though I feel like they do use it quite a lot, even if it's not death now. Music is very important to me, and this episode has a good soundtrack. We also get another F-bomb. It is mad how they are dropping them every episode now. I feel like we're going to get one next episode. So Princess gets the F-bomb. It's just so weird how we're getting them so often now, but I feel like it does really help the show. So I'm happy they are dropping them now, so I had to mention this, because it does give the scenes that they happen in way more power, and they are way more impactful. Now let's talk about the ending of this episode. So slight spoilers, this ending definitely foreshadows things, I feel. I'm not looking at anything like the ending to the main thing with Eugene turning himself in. I really didn't care, and everyone just being suddenly arrested. Okay, that's plot convenience so Pamela could be the main villain, so a big fight happens. I don't really care about all that. But the ending, which I want to focus on, is the ending to plot D, which is the Aaron stuff. I definitely think they're foreshadowing something with the Kingdom 2.0. Aaron mentions King Jerry, so maybe them saying King Jerry could kind of foreshadow that Jerry become the leader, and maybe Ezekiel will die. I'm just thinking this is very far-fetched, but I don't think this is a subtle hint that maybe Jerry is going to have to replace Ezekiel at some point, and Ezekiel is not going to make it to the end of this show. I'm also happy that the Walkers are not a one and done, even though I'm mad that they're barely in this episode. It's good that there's going to be an ongoing arc with our four characters, Cherry and the three annoying. We're going to get more Walkers, which is great. So that's a massive bonus. We're going to have another Walker episode. I don't think it's next episode, but we're eventually going to get more variant Walkers. Now let's do my one sentence, that's one word over review. And this episode does have some big flaws. I definitely think this episode doesn't have a good hook. I left this episode not really caring. Like the previous two episodes, I left it with a hook and like wanted to see more Walking Dead. I was excited to see next episode. And in this episode, I really didn't care. There was no hook, which sucks. I feel like the pacing was bad. The episode was basically clickbait. I expected walkers, variant walkers. No, it was just Eugene hiding and people trying to find him and everyone dealing with that. Okay, maybe if they advertised it like that, instead of being like, this is called variant, we're going to get variant walkers. Yeah, we get variant walkers, but we get one, and it's a very small part of the episode. So I'm a little annoyed with that. But overall, this episode looks pretty. It sounds pretty. The acting is well all around. Some of the characters I feel like shouldn't be in this episode or should be replaced. I think there's too many characters. Sometimes Daryl feels pointless. This episode, I would have to say, I expected more. This is a disappointment episode. I'm disappointed with this episode. That's what I say. I'm disappointed. I expected way more, but it is still fun. It is still enjoyable. It's watchable. This episode not as good as I wanted it to be. It's the worst episode we've got so far, but it was still watchable. I was just very disappointed because I expected differently out of this episode. But please tell me down below, what did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think about the new variant walkers? I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions, everything down below. And if you want Walking Dead content, please look on the screen. If you want the previous view, look in the top right. If you want something recommended for you, look in the bottom. And if you want my latest video, look in the top left. But this is it for me today, and make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all things Walking Dead. 2 videos every week and reviews all the time. But this is it. So goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you at a later date.